If you were wondering, wait a minute, didn't we just see Senator Hawley on this program last week? Yes, you did. We've tried to invite Senator Eric Schmidt, the newest Missouri senator here, and we hope to have him perhaps in the weeks to come. Also, Senator Dick Durbin and Tammy Duckworth, regular guests here on our program. We're always glad to have them join us when they can and their busy schedules from the U.S. Senate. All right, shifting gears now to the St. Louis Circuit Attorney's Office. Just 1 week ago today, St. Louis Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner abruptly announced that she would resign her office under pressure from the mayor, the attorney general, and the public. In a short speech to her staff inside her office, Gardner said if she had not stepped aside, Jefferson City was poised to impose a special prosecutor presiding over her, someone that would presumably strip her position of its independence and perhaps the voters in the city of their voice and control over who sits in that chair and steers the policies of that office. We turn now to the prosecutor who preceded Kim Gardner in that job. Jennifer Joyce is on the record. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Knowing what you know today, with the benefit of hindsight looking back, do you regret not running for office in 2016?
No, I don't. I had served 4 terms, 16 years, and I felt like I had done as much as I could, and I was ready to try to do some other things with my life.
When St. Louis voters chose Kim Gardner, is it fair to say they were choosing to go in a direction different than the one you had led under that office?
Well, I think so. Obviously, anybody other than me is going to be different, and I think Kim had some great ideas that she talked about in her campaign. She obviously was Black. I am not Black, and I think that there was a real desire on the part of the people in the city of St. Louis to elect this woman who had great ideas and could represent a portion of the city that had never had that office before, had never seen their representation in the circuit attorney's office at that top level.
A lot of the people that work in that office, that worked in that office under you, I imagine those are many of the same people. Of course, many have left. I imagine you're still in touch with some of them. What's your best perception or understanding of what went wrong?
Well, I was not there, so I just know from what people have told me, and obviously I care very deeply about the office, so I have paid attention to it. And I think that one of the first things that happened was the management structure that we had in place there was removed. And a lot of the oversight of how things were going on in the office. There's a lot of meticulous detail involved here in front of the prosecutor's office. And I'm not sure that happened as much as it did under me, because that layer of management to make sure that everything was happening as it should was gone.
Kim Gardner said in a speech to her supporters just a few days before she stepped down that it was the police department running the show, and that they would come in, tell prosecutors when to charge, what to charge, who to charge, what to charge them with, you name it. Evaluate the truth or substance of that statement.
That's just not a true statement. As anybody who worked in the office knows, we statistically issued probably 50% of the cases that the police brought to us, and that's a statistic known as an issue rate, which means the police bring a bunch of cases. It's the job of the prosecutor as an attorney to review those cases and select the ones that are of a level of evidence and that a law has been violated and we have the evidence to prove it. And so we would statistically only issue about 50% of the cases that the police brought to us year after year after year. And it wasn't just me. Going back to Joyce Hayes and George Peach and so on, looking at those statistics, that issue rate stayed pretty constant. So I say, far from the police coming in and telling us what to do, it was a source of frustration at times for the police that we saw things differently than them. We had a different role than they did. And it was our job as the gatekeepers of the criminal justice system to determine whether or not a case should be prosecuted.
And there's a natural tension between prosecutors and police in any jurisdiction, sometimes
Right.
less than others. But there is this chance for a reset. Kim Gardner really wanted to reform police. That was a part of her stated goals, stated mission. There's a new transition happening. Just this last week, Mayor Tashara Jones told KMOX Radio she wants Governor Mike Parson to appoint somebody as a caretaker in an interim role, not a candidate, who would have continuity through the next 4 years, including this next year or two before the election in 2024. How should the public think about that, the difference between somebody who's just there to be that caretaker or somebody who actually could be there and stay long term? Is there value in continuity?
Well, I agree with her that the person who goes in initially with the appointment should not necessarily be the person that has that office after the next election. I wouldn't call him a caretaker. I would call him a contractor, because what you're doing is bringing somebody in to basically rebuild that office. And we don't know what exactly the situation is there. Obviously, that's going to have to happen first. There's going to have to be a triage process. But that person is going to have to really do some heavy lifting of building that office back to where it's functioning. And you can't do that job while you're running for office at the same time.
If Governor Mike Parson calls, are you picking up the phone?
Am I what?
If Governor Mike Parson calls, are you picking up the phone?
Sure, I'm happy to share my thoughts on this with him and anybody.
To take an appointment or just to advise?
No, I would not take the appointment. I actually have my own consulting practice now, and as you can see from my the words under my screen here, I live in St. Charles, so that would not work. But whoever that person is that comes in there, they need to be focused on rebuilding that office, and that's going to take a tremendous amount of energy. They can't be campaigning from day one for their next job. They're not going to be making the tough calls. They're going to have different, those two agendas are at cross purposes. So I'd like to see the governor appoint somebody that can really fix this office. And then let's let the citizens of St. Louis pick who they want going forward as their circuit attorney.
All right, Jennifer Joyce, thank you for making time for us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye.